Welcome to the Epic Families Podcast. It's time to think differently about child neurodiversity. We bring you the knowledge from the experts who have it to the families who need it. I'm your host, Freddie Bennett, and I'm a dad trying to find his way through a neurodiverse family journey. In this podcast, we are on a mission to help every family understand that neurodiversity can be your greatest strength. So buckle up and listen in. This is for you, extraordinary parents and incredible children. It's time to be epic. Welcome to the Epic Families Podcast. We give you strength in neurodiversity by delivering the knowledge from the experts who have it to the families who need it. I'm Freddie Bennett, and today, folks, I have got a real treat for you. I am delighted to welcome educational psychologist Nadia du Plessis. Nadia, welcome to Epic Families.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Freddie. I really appreciate it.
Perfect, Nadia. I am super excited about this conversation. Just to kick us off, tell us a bit about yourself and your role.
Right. So, as you've just said, I'm an educational psychologist and I've done quite a bit of traveling around the world in my journey as a psychologist. So, I have, as you can hear from my accent, I started off in South Africa. And my journey over there working with young people around the ages of 5 to 18, mainly focusing on children with cerebral palsy and epilepsy, muscular dystrophy, spina bifida, and various syndromes. And then obviously also the neurodiversity that comes with some of these conditions. It was an absolutely amazing experience working with these young people. And then about 6 years ago, my journey took me to New Zealand, where I worked with the Ministry of Education and then also supporting neurodiverse children in schools and working with teachers to really engage these children and behavior plans and support plans and how can we help them to cope and be the best they can be in the school environment. And from there on, also had my turn in the mental health rounds as well, working with intake teams on what that initial presentation is for children with neurodiversity, and also most recently working with a team on the neurodiversity pathway. So how do we support these kids coming into the health system? And then also had my foot in private practice for a couple of years, really focusing on neurodiversity, helping families to understand the young people, psychoeducation, to learn more about what's going on in the homes and how does my child present, what can I do to help them, support strategies, and then obviously also ongoing management of behavior plans and support in the home. And then, just the last little bit to add is my lived experience. I also have a little nephew on the autism spectrum, so it's absolutely amazing to journey with my family and to see how he grows up to be the best he can be. Yeah.
I love
Really
that.
exciting.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And I love what you say there about being the best that we can be, because when it comes to neurodiversity, both from the point of view of the child and speaking as a dad, as part of a neurodiverse family as well, it can sometimes feel like the odds are stacked against us, and it can be so difficult to be the best that we can be. And I love what you said as well around understanding. And I think there's an element of understanding neurodiversity, but also being understood as well. And I think so many children, I know my own children, get so frustrated because they don't feel understood. And is that something that you typically see when when families first come to see you? Is that understanding one of the key challenges that they're facing?
Absolutely 100% right. I feel so many times when I have young people coming in, you won't believe this, but the most common conversation or opening, starting conversation is, what is wrong with me? I
Mm.
don't I don't understand me. Others don't understand me. And something must be wrong with me. And so that is normally what kicks off the investigation and helping the young person, the families to gain that understanding. Mums or dads would often say something with little Johnny has just always been different from what we've seen. We don't know what. Yeah, we've tried a lot of things and we're just not getting any closer to an answer. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a huge need for that understanding for both
Mm.
families and children.
And I think it's so hard, isn't it? Because going through our daily life to saying to ourselves, "What's wrong with me?" And I remember I had this as a child, and my children have said this to me. I've had it as a parent as well, to be honest. Always just with that narrative of, "What's wrong with me? How can I be better? How can people accept me?" And it is so difficult. It's like, kind of feel like you're wearing a pair of neurodiverse handcuffs that we can't free ourselves from the shackles of our minds. But I think, as you say, if you're able to shine a light on it, and help parents to truly understand that, it's okay to be a bit different. Difference in this case can be our superpower, but it is about that acceptance. Is that right?
It's absolutely right. And that is what I see a lot of that coming into the practice is the start of this journey. The what's wrong with me, then we find the results, and then where do we go from here? So often families would get a diagnosis. So we now know this is either autism or this is ADHD or whatever the case might be. But now we don't know where do we go from here. We've got absolutely no idea. How do we manage this? How do we teach our young person about this? Or what do I need to do as a parent? We've got absolutely no idea where to go. Parents also be saying, we've got these behaviors. And I think we're still going to talk about behavior quite a
Mm.
lot because that's probably the number one challenge that families face is the behavior that we are seeing. But our tips and tricks are not working, and everybody's advice and this family member would say something or that teacher would say something, but none of this is really working for us. So we need to build up a toolbox full of skills, not just as parents but as kids as well. We need to equip our kids and families with a toolbox that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives and put as many of the skills and the tips and tricks into this. But yeah, where does that come from? It's disheartening to see families coming into the practice saying, you know what, we feel lost and very much alone on this journey. We just don't know. Some of the other challenges that we know from families is certain ages and stages where families feel we've got this. We've done so well for the last 2 years, but now transition into school. All of a sudden, the demands of school, and it's a bigger space, and there's social stuff going on, and now everything has just gone backwards. We don't know what to do with this. Or hitting puberty. This is quite another conversation. This is a big one as well, where we've done really well through primary, intermediate school. Now we're hitting puberty, and wow, what's happened? It's like we've got a whole new child in the house.
Mm.
What do we do with this? There's so many challenges that comes with this, but I think the number one thing for me is you just never give up hope, and you always keep trying, and we always find strategies. We will always find a new way, not to change the young person, not to fix, because there's nothing to fix here. Your kid's amazing. You just need to, we as a team, we accept it and we tweak and we work on strategies so that we can understand the child's mindset. We need to step into the world of autism. We need to step into the world of ADHD so we could actually understand what's going on and support, go together on this journey.
There's so much gold in what you're saying, and I think that key message of never giving up hope, because I've been there, and that's why I think this is such a crazy journey. That just when you start to think like, "Oh, hang on, I think we're actually getting this. I think the toolbox is working." You start to kind of relax a little. You start to breathe a sigh of relief, and then bang, as you say, it's the new school or a new friend or a different life stage or growing up, and then something comes in and everything gets thrown upside down, and it can be so easy to feel like everything is falling apart. I always like to say, just when it feels like everything is falling apart, it means everything's falling together. And it means that we can seek new support, add new tools to our toolbox. And I'd love just to touch on one thing that you said as well around when it feels like the advice isn't working. And I've definitely been there when you think one more book or one more expert or one more YouTube video, and then your auntie says this and your mum says that, and then it feels like we're getting all of this advice just piled on top of us, totally contradictory. We sometimes we feel like we can't even give a child their breakfast without asking for permission from an expert. And what do we do when it feels like there's either too much advice or no advice is actually working?
That's a very interesting question. Each of the individuals that I see in my practice are really unique, amazing people, and there's no one size fits all to strategies. You're not going to buy a book
Mm,
and there you go. You do A, B, and C, and the result is going to be amazing. Okay. And this in the world of psychology and understanding the brain science behind neurodiversity and um, reading the behaviors, I've learned that understanding the why will give me the how. And I think when we understand what's happening in my child's brain, and I do a lot of advocating for this, and I do so much training and psychoeducation on this because why am I putting a strategy in place? I need to understand what is going on so that I can put the right strategy in place. So now going back to no one is the same. Sometimes I might put in a strategy and it might work for 2 days. And these highly intelligent kids figured it out. And so they are going to do something else and the strategy is not working by day 3. Yeah, also just really understanding, maybe I'm more specifically focusing on autism when I say this, is that sometimes our young people are struggling to explain what is going on. So
mm,
I would like to give you an example here.
go for it.
Little boy, 8 years old, some difficulty with toileting, and I know these are one of the behaviors that we really struggle with. Our autism kids is toileting, but specifically for him, we're doing so well. The plan worked, and then things turned really badly. Soiling 5 times a day at school, so bad for his self-esteem. And that was also when we started realizing that's our trigger for noticing his anxiety is increasing. He is unable to explain to us what's going on. You know, nothing has changed with school, nothing has changed in the home environment. There's no new friends, nothing is taken away. However, a couple of weeks ago, the family introduced a therapy dog,
Mm,
and he started bonding with this dog up to a point, but that's also around the time when some of the soiling started. So a month later, he just re- randomly in a conversation dropped that my dog will be taken away. And nobody understood, what do you mean by that? So we kind of unpacked that he's overheard a conversation where he realized this is a trial opportunity. And if it does not work, then we can return the dog. If it doesn't, it's not a good fit for the family, we could return this dog. He overheard that. And
mm,
it caused so much anxiety for him. And that's the reason why we saw the increase in the anxiety. And that's why we saw the increase in the soiling. By understanding what was going on, and it took us a while to unpack that, we could
mm,
actually problem solve it. So it was confirmed on that same day that he's going to keep his dog. Anxiety decreased, toileting went back to normal again. So what I'm trying to get at is that they can't explain what's going
mm.
on in their world all the time. And that's so important for us to go in there and help unpack what is causing the fear, what is causing the anxiety.
What a powerful example. Thank you, Nadia. And I think it highlights something really important as well. As a parent, it feels like we spend a lot of time talking about the child, but potentially not enough time talking to the child. And I know many parents or family situations we could spend hours saying, "Oh, what do we do? Where are we going wrong? What could it be? I don't know what to do next." But the insights that you shared there, I imagine, can only be found if you're talking to the child and communicating to that child. And also it highlights something that we all know but tend to forget, that kids do pick up on everything. And a conversation that you think is a private conversation, or if you try to be very subtle in your words and everything, like kids are smart and they do pick up on it. But we As you say, it's that understanding the why behind the actions that feels so important.
Yeah, absolutely. For so many of the families that I see in here, just coming back to your point about the strategy, so why is it not working? Is because we need that help. We need to reach out to somebody, whether it be your local autism support team or a psychologist or somebody who's familiar with the neurodiverse world to unpack what's going on because we get frustrated as parents. I'm doing the right things. I'm doing what you said, and it's still not working. And it's causing upset in the house, frustration. I get a lot of parents with exhaustion and fatigue just because it's so intense going on in the home. Just reach out to somebody who can sit with you and, from a third perspective, unpack what is going on. Maybe it's just something that we need to tweak a little. Maybe we're just missing a little something that this young person is not necessarily able to verbalize and to pinpoint. This is what it is. So, by being a team and working together with families, we could actually help problem solve it. We could tweak the plan and we could figure out what's going on so that we have the right strategies to work with that individual child. Every plan is needs based and it's very much designed for an individual child. But I always commend parents for reading up more. You can never know enough. I feel that I don't even know enough. I'm continuously doing research and reading up and working with these families, and I feel like they are my sources of information. I'm constantly learning from them, which I'm so grateful for.
Oh, I totally agree, Nadia. To pick up on your point there, and again, because I've been there and I still am there on a regular basis. When you're a parent as part of a neurodiverse family, it can feel exhausting, scary, overwhelming, impossible, and it's very easy to turn a parenting knockback into a knockout and just say, right, I'm out for the count now. That's it. I'm done. But if you can get the right people in your corner, then a knockback doesn't have to be a knockout. You can keep going. You can keep going round after round and win this journey along with your family. I love that example you gave. What a powerful example. Do you have any other examples at all of a couple of situations that you might encounter on a fairly regular basis?
So yeah, I think one thing that I normally come across with, we know that with neurodiversity, anxiety is quite closely linked to it. So understanding where the anxiety comes from, I see a lot of, especially with our girls or females on the spectrum, I see a lot of internalized behavior happening for a long time become externalized behavior. So then we sit with mental health difficulties as a result of a lot of behavior that's been masked and held in. What I think the beauty of working with anxiety with a lot of the families that I see is that we could actually make a difference. Anxiety is not somewhere where we're not stuck in this. We can actually move forward. And I think I'm specifically thinking of a beautiful young girl that I worked with, and it's all about traveling. Actually, traveling is a very big topic that we often find as families wanting to go away and just wanting to go somewhere or travel to another country. And it just makes it really difficult because of all the sensory overload and things happening. But for example, when we've worked with this young girl and she really wanted to travel, wanted to go see her family, and 2 days before wanted to throw herself out of the car driving because that's how bad her anxiety got, cannot do this anymore. It was so powerful for her to come in and we start talking about what is going on. We unpack the anxiety and we were able to see that there's 6 steps in her journey on this travel journey. And we found that step 3, what happens if my flight gets cancelled? And that was the only part in this whole journey that was a real concern, causing a big amount of anxiety for her. So once we identified that together, we put a plan in place. What's going to happen? Who we're going to call? What's the next steps for that? So we had a written plan which we took with her, and I'm so glad that she was actually able to go on this journey. One step could have prevented her from missing out on so much. And I think that's what happens a lot with anxiety is families miss out and the young person miss out on so much. So that was incredible to see that she actually went, had a fantastic time. It was just finding that one moment. A lot of other situations coming up is the social skills and bullying. Gosh, that's so, so difficult, is really not understanding in the neurodiverse world. I think we're really making progress on acceptance and educating others about accepting neurodiversity, because there's nothing wrong, it is different. So accepting different, working with the social skills. And I met a 12-year-old gifted young girl, absolutely incredible to have a conversation with her. She is a expert when it comes to Greek mythology, and talking about history. She's incredible. But you can imagine how that goes with other 12-year-olds. That's not necessarily the conversations we want to have.
You don't get much Taylor
Also with
Swift in Greek mythology, do you?
so I need to brush up on my mythology skills, my Greek mythology, so that I can be part of these conversations. But it's just it's beautiful that we could have this conversation. Say, right, let's identify your strengths. And I really want to emphasize that we should always, whatever we do, we focus on the strengths first.
Mm.
Your strength is that you can really communicate well. You've got these, the vocabulary is incredible. Okay, but let's see, how do we use the skills that you have, and we do some social coaching. So how do we engage with our peers? How am I going to have a conversation with a friend, and let's test it between you and me. We're going to have conversations about different topics. And then she goes out and she practices it first with mum and then with a friend. And so we got her to really work on those social communication skills, which is also counteracting the bullying that she's experienced. So another encounter, 9-year-old boy that I've been journeying with his family for the past 3 years. He's got autism and a PDA diagnosis. So quite a big load for him to carry. But
What's
it
PDA?
was
Sorry, Nadia.
absolute. PDA is a pathological demand avoidance profile. And I know we don't like the word pathological, so
Mm.
let's skip that part. We're working on demand avoidance. So this is a condition very often associated with autism, but it can also be with ADHD. But yeah, it's really debilitating in the sense that the young person will avoid absolutely any demand, even
Mm.
when it's a physical demand. We also know that this goes with extreme sensory difficulties. It can sometimes absolutely consume my day, just needing to cope with the sensory world. So, for this amazing young man, we started understanding what the sensory world looks like for him. And we've been able to put in place so many sensory activities. We've had the help of an occupational therapist by making sense of his needs, sensory needs, and the sensory avoidance. Wow, mum reports such a big difference because we have an understanding of what's going on for him.
These are amazing, Nadia, and what I love in these stories, and it highlights the importance of a child's strengths and a child's needs, and it validates them. I will say this many times on this podcast, I'm sure, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, you'll always see that's not a very good fish. Or a monkey by its ability to swim, you'll say, that's not a very good monkey. This is all about helping the monkeys to climb trees and helping the fish to swim in the sea. And it is absolutely about focusing on our natural strengths and validating needs, because it is so easy, I think, in the modern world to say, if you do not fit in this very particular, very defined box, then your strengths, your needs, your personality is either not valid or not as important as someone else's. We talk about confidence so much, and it's difficult to give a child confidence if we're always saying to them, oh, you need to be doing something else, or you need to be acting a certain way, or I know you're saying you need this thing, but how about you need something else? And it seems like that's such a powerful thing for helping a child and their parents and their caregivers to feel accepted, to feel validated, and it is okay to be your wonderful, unique self.
Absolutely. And I've had a conversation with a parent who recently said, I know there's no such word, but I am over therapied. Our
Mm.
family is over therapy because we are constantly going from one person to solve this, the next person to fix that. And she said, in the end, I realized some of these qualities are part of my boy. We need to love that about him. We need to accept that that is part of him. And when we start focusing on, because we tend to go, what's wrong first, isn't it?
Mm.
When we look at the young person, we we tend to go, okay, there's four things that we need to get right. There's four things that we need to work on, and we need to get this better. And I'm not saying that is wrong. We could always better ourselves. We could always make changes because we want our person to be as independent and fully functioning as they can be.
Mm.
But we need to go, what are the strengths? And what can we do with these strengths to help you grow, and how do we implement? I'm just going to use an example. So many of our neurodiverse population, and I'm including adults, older people, younger people, are struggling with learning, so might have a specific learning disability or difficulty, dyslexia or dyscalculia, dysgraphia. So we know that it's hard for them to read, for example. So while it's difficult, you have a strength. Talking about Greek mythology, why do we keep giving you books about frogs when you
Mm.
could be reading about your passion or your interest? So let's start with the basic reading about Greek mythology. So we'll use a strength and a passion while we are also trying to teach a new skill. It just makes it so much more enjoyable and less painful. Let's focus on the strengths. Let's focus on building a relationship. Let's pick our battles. And while we go through everyday life, we will build the skills. We will fill up the toolkit, but we shouldn't make it feel like it's chores or like it's really hard work. And at the end of the day, everybody is exhausted from just putting too much on the plate and missing some of the beautiful moments in life.
I think that's such a powerful message. And I say this as a parent who got so over therapied, over expertised, if that's a word, and so over engrossed in all of the information out there. I felt like I was having to ask an expert's permission before I could wipe my child's bum. And I think that, yeah, obviously, yeah, this podcast is about taking the expertise from the experts who have it and giving it to the families who need it. And I absolutely trust, respect, and admire all of the experts in this field. But I do believe as a parent, there are times when sometimes you've got to stop trusting them and you've got to start trusting you, because every parent knows their child best. And yes, we absolutely need all the support we can get. But there will be moments when we just have to say, as you said so wonderfully, trust our instincts and trust the moment in these wonderful, enjoyable moments with the family, because that's what being a family is all about. It's trying to enjoy that wonderful roller coaster ride, but sometimes that's how we learn the best about each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just want to put it out there because I work with hundreds of families, parents who are either a neurodiverse parent themselves or have neurodiverse children are amazing. I have met some of the most incredible parents out there. And without them knowing it, they are building resilience. They never give up. Where everybody else gives up, they don't. I don't I don't often think they realize what a great job they do in raising their kids. So I just want to put that out there to a lot of the families that really sometimes feel down and hard on themselves. And
Mm.
as you said, things don't always go great. This is something that I've come across which I really live by, and even apply in my own life, is Fred Rogers said, some days doing the best we can may still fall short of what we would like to be able to do. But life isn't perfect. No one is perfect. And this is the golden moment for me in this. So, doing what we can with what we have is the best we could expect of ourselves or anyone else.
Ah, I
And
love that.
that's where parents come in and go, right, this isn't working. Things in our house is like a tornado at the moment. We just don't know what else to do. And maybe it's our parenting, or maybe it's this or that. But you know what? You've done the best with the skills that you have right now. And your child, your young person, is also doing the best with the capacity or what is available to him at that moment. So we should really be kind to ourselves. We are doing the best we can with what we have today.
Definitely. I love that. I mean, we're starting to edge towards the end of this podcast, Nadia. I've absolutely loved your insights. I have to ask because one thing we really want to do here on the Epic Families podcast is focus on practical help for parents. And if anyone's listening to this and just saying, I'm not managing my child's behavior well, I'm losing my temper, I'm just feeling like a bad parent, what would you say in terms of practical advice for them?
Yeah, so I guess that's a lot how a lot of our parents feel, and I would like to, if it's okay, just use another example of
Mm,
a single mum that I've been journeying with for about 3 years now. The most incredible woman. And I've had the journey with this family from the initial diagnoses working up to where we are today. There's about four different things going on for this young man. So it's quite a full on household. But I guess what was amazing and still is amazing is from a mum who, as you said, felt like she lost it every single day. She couldn't cope with what's going on. Just going right back to the beginning, we started with understanding. So we spend a lot of time doing psychoeducation and unpacking what are we seeing, what is causing the behavior. So learning about her son. The next thing is we had these conversations about where she would come and tell me, I got hit totally wrong today. I lost it. Some days I cope, some days I don't. We celebrate the days that she comes and tells me, I've done amazing. This was
mm.
incredible. This is what happened, and this is how I handled the situation. I'm so proud of her for each moment that she actually, as she calls it, survived it. She did really, really well. So days that things don't go well, we problem solve together. So she will write down what happened. We would have a conversation about what could we have done differently. How could we have, without any judgment? There's no judgment in this, but we talk through if this presents again, what could you do in that situation? So it's very, once again, for her in her situation, putting a plan together. I cannot emphasize know and learn as much as you can and have that relationship with your child so that you can start picking up on the cues as well. I love the tag team model. If this is available to you, working with a support person, with your partner, with a parent who's close by. If you are, as a parent, in a moment that you feel like I can't cope with this right now, we're all busy, we all have jobs, and we all exhausted. Maybe your young one's not sleeping very well and just absolutely knackered and not able to cope with this. Tag team with a partner, tag team with somebody else who could just take you or help you to remove yourself 15 minutes out of the situation. Always staying calm, and this is the very difficult one, and I say this with the utmost respect to parents, is if you can, always staying calm no matter how hard that situation is at the moment, because we know that we can escalate the situation when it's us not coping. Mum might be crying or yelling or whatever the case might be, and that could escalate the situation. But once the situation has calmed down, also making sure that there's enough support for you. Do you need a shoulder to cry on? Because I can say this, I work very closely with families who it's tough. It is tough in the house. The behaviors that we are seeing, from kicking, biting, yelling, throwing stuff, lashing out, avoidance behaviors, locking themselves away. There's a whole group of behaviors that we can be talking about. It is so tough. So your self care. Who do you need to go and debrief with or talk or just have a shoulder to cry on, you know? Sometimes with somebody tag teaming from you, it gives you the opportunity to step away from the situation and observe what has caused this? What was the start of this? Analyzing this situation, what could we put in place so that we can avoid having this situation coming up again, and then thinking about the solutions and regularly evaluating your own, I guess, life as a parent. What is the We're talking about doing what we can for the children so that they have the best opportunity, but what about you as a parent? What do you need to do to also give yourself the best opportunities? So is it that you needing more support? Are you tired, or is it lack of sleep? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Maybe you're a person with anxiety yourself, so what are you doing with your own well-being? So you could be the strongest mum, the strongest dad. And then this is the last point I want to make, is it's this is the beautiful one for me, is going back and repairing that relationship. We
Mm.
always have the opportunity. There's no judgment in you've lost it or you've said something you shouldn't have. The beauty in this is that we can always go back and say, hey buddy, you know what? I know mum said this and this, but I'm so sorry. I was just tired. I'm really sorry that I said that. I would like to say something else instead. Okay. I love you and I apologize. Can I give you a cuddle or whatever the case might be? So going back and repairing that moment and also modeling to our kids how we should go back and say sorry. So there's another opportunity for learning and for repairing the relationship, which I find is sometimes something we forget because we're angry or we hurt, or a kid has said something that's really hurtful, and not to take that personally. I think for a lot of what's going on, I hate my mum or I don't love you anymore, whatever, it takes it personally. But so we also know it's not meant that way. It is coming out of a place of anxiety, it's coming out of frustration. It's not meant to hurt you. Quite a few things that we could also be doing for ourselves as parents. I think we should really not forget that.
Absolutely. That's such amazing advice. Thank you so much, Nadia. Also, it really grabbed my attention what you were talking about around the Greek mythology. And I was thinking about that Greek story of David versus Goliath. And I think sometimes as a parent, it can feel like we're David and neurodiversity is the giant. And it's this big, huge, scary thing. And we're not quite sure how we're going to overcome it and control it. But that's what David did in David and Goliath. He learned how to overcome the giant. But what I love about this story is that sometimes we believe that David became the hero after he overcame the giant. But I think differently. I think he was the hero before he even stepped up because he chose to use the resources around him to the best of his ability to overcome this situation. And that's, I think, what could be so important for parents to understand, that you're already the superhero. You are already doing amazing things. And neurodiversity isn't even a giant to be overcome. It's a giant that sometimes we have to learn to live with. But the victory happens because you just choose to step forward and say, no, we're going to do something about this, and we're going to make a difference. We're going to grow together, we're going to win together, and we're going to love together. And I think that is why you do such amazing work, Nadia, in helping families to do all of those things.
I absolutely agree with you. You know what? I always say to parents that if I had a magic wand, I don't work for the Ministry of Magic, but if I had a magic wand, in my drawer to use, I would have. But there's no such thing. There's no fixing with step one, two, three, and we've got this. It is, as you said, it is accepting and embracing and saying, right, guys, we're going to go on a journey. This might be a never ending journey, or it might just be up till 19. I see incredible skills emerging when these young people turn 18, 19. I can see them taking ownership of so many things, which is absolutely beautiful. But they didn't get there by themselves. They
Mm.
got there because they've got supportive parents and a family who journeyed with them to get them to that stage. And as I said before, we shouldn't miss the beautiful moments on this journey, because there will be a lot of absolutely fantastic and memorable moments that we make together as a family. And I just want to, from me, a final word on this is I just love learning from other people. Is Dr. Baker, who said, when we give up hope, when we feel overwhelmed, then we don't make progress anymore. The thing for us to keep in mind is that things, in fact, can and do get better. Maybe not 100%, but we chip away at things over time. And even if it's one step forward in a week, it's one step forward. And we should celebrate that one step forward, because with the capacity that your young person have, every 1% of progress is progress. And that's amazing. And for me, my motto is just, whatever I have here in front of me today, I'm going to do the best with what I can today. I'm not going to give up hope. We're going to chip away one step at a time.
I love that. What a powerful message of hope. Nadia, thank you so much for appearing here on the Epic Families podcast. I know we're going to be getting you back very soon in the future. And also for all the listeners, if you have any questions, feedback, anything else, especially for Nadia, then please do get in touch with the show. I'll put that information in the show notes. Nadia, now, just before we finish, there is something that you don't know about, which is the new tradition here on the Epic Families podcast, which is the secret final question. Now, as I said, I'm a dad in a neurodiverse family, so I thought obviously I should probably let my son have the final question for all of our guests. So this is a secret question for you, Nadia. The question from my son is:
would you rather sweat maple syrup or cry strawberry jam?
Bet you weren't expecting that one, were
I
you?
love it. No.
That's an insight into my son's mind.
I love this. I love his creativity around these questions. It's amazing. I think I would sweat maple syrup.
I do a lot of training, so I was like, that would get really sticky. So I was thinking I'd be crying strawberry jam because I generally don't cry, unless I'm having a really tough day with my kids. I don't tend to cry, but yeah, sweat maple syrup or cry strawberry jam.
Well,
Wow.
for those who listeners can't see me, I'm wearing glasses. So my initial thought was strawberry jam in my glasses, and I can already not see very well. It's not going to go down great for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nadia. You not only sweat maple syrup, but you have certainly swept us off our feet with all of your amazing knowledge and expertise. As I said, I'm sure we'll be seeing you back on the podcast in the future. But for now, thank you so much for being part of the Epic Families podcast.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening and for being an epic family. Remember, you are extraordinary parents with incredible children. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star review and share it with the world. Until next time, I've been Freddie Bennett, you have been epic, and I'll see you on the other side.